from the footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, bring you our preview of the 2014 Sugar Bowl between the Oklahoma Sooners and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now let's take a look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with Oklahoma. But first, let's take a look at some coaching points for both teams in this ball game. For Alabama, you want to stay exotic on defense. Keep confusing both quarterbacks in this ball game. Trevor Knight and Blake Bell, both in the passing game, as well as when you're sending pressure at them with different stunts and blitzes. And on offense, you look at power versus speed. Oklahoma runs a 4-2-5, which means they have a lot more speed on the field. Alabama loves to utilize 2 tight end sets, even 3 tight end sets. I think that's where they have the advantage running their ISO and their power game versus that 4-2-5 of Oklahoma. And the biggest matchup they're going to have to win offensively is out on the flanks. Wide receiver Amari Cooper going against the outstanding cornerback Aaron Colvin. He has to win that battle more often than not because that's A.J. McCarron's #1 option. And for Oklahoma in this ball game, you want to force Alabama to play in space. So you want to stay in the spread formation and force those guys to make those plays in space versus those tremendous athletes that you have at the receiver position. Now we'll go with more of a 4-3 than a 4-2-5 look. You want to get that extra linebacker out there on the field so that way you can help be in better position to stop the run. And pressing the wide receivers could allow you to get pressure on A.J. McCarron and force a quick throw. And that way you can rally up, make a tackle, and get off the field. And the X factor in this game for Alabama will be safety Landon Collins, who I believe is the most athletic and the most versatile player on their defense. So they can line him up back deep at the deep safety or closer to the line of scrimmage. And I think they can move him around that defense and match up very well versus Oklahoma's spread offense. And the X factor for Oklahoma will be wide receiver Jalen Saunders. I believe he's the one guy on this football team that can give Alabama problems, whether it be lined up in a slot or in a backfield or even out wide as a split. This is a guy that they definitely want to get the football to early and often. Now here are some 2014 draft prospects you want to keep an eye on in this ball game. For Alabama, as always, a lot of talent on the defensive side of the football. 2 outstanding linebackers and C.J. Mosley, a guy that's very versatile, can play inside or outside and does a great job on both ends of defense. Adrian Hubbard, 6'6", 252, your ideal edge rusher in that 3-4 defense. And HaHa Clinton-Dix, outstanding safety, tremendous ball skills. Definitely somebody you want on the back end playing center field. And you look at quarterback A.J. McCarron, solid player, productive over the course of his career. And Cyrus Kouandjio, the outstanding left tackle, 6'6", 312, only a junior, so he may come back for his senior season. And for Oklahoma, you look at cornerback Aaron Colvin, a well-polished cornerback, probably one of the more polished players in the country at 6 feet, 195. Jalen Saunders, we spoke about him earlier, and he also brings that added value as a returner. On the offensive line, I'm a big fan of Gabe Eicher, one of the best centers in the Big 12. And junior tackle Darrell Williams is a guy you definitely want to keep an eye on, athletic player at 6'6", 320. On a sloppy, muddy field at Tulane Stadium, Santa Clara, ranked 9th in the country, took on 2nd-ranked LSU in the 1937 Sugar Bowl, and opening up a 14-0 lead, the Broncos had the Tigers on their heels, but LSU scored right before the half to make it 14-7. At halftime, Santa Clara borrowed fresh cleats from Loyola University's football team, which gave them a decided advantage in the second half as they went on to knock off LSU and killed their national title hopes with a 21-14 victory. In the 1963 Orange Bowl, Alabama took on Oklahoma, and this was the first meeting in the bowl game between the two schools and the first meeting between Bear Bryant and Bud Wilkinson. Bryant's Tide, led by quarterback Joe Namath, jumped out to an early 7-0 lead and never looked back as they blanked Oklahoma 17-0. Oklahoma, led by legendary head coach Bud Wilkinson, entered the 1950 Sugar Bowl undefeated and ranked number 2 in the country against the 9th-ranked LSU Tigers. And after feeling each other out for the first quarter, which they were scoreless, Oklahoma poured on the points as running back Leon Heath ran for 170 yards on 15 carries en route to a 35-0 blowout victory. One of the best wide receivers of all time was Don Hutson, played at Alabama from 1932 to 1934. He was an All-American and had blazing speed plus tremendous hands. His biggest day came in the Rose Bowl versus Stanford with 6 catches, 165 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Greg Pruitt was one of the more dynamic running backs in college football history, played at Oklahoma from 1970 to 1972, in which he was a two-time All-American and finished his Oklahoma career averaging over 7.5 yards a carry, 38 rushing touchdowns, and over 3,100 yards on the ground. I like Alabama in this ball game. When you look at their defense, being able to get teams off the field on third downs is key when you're facing an offense like Oklahoma. And on offense, you look at what they can do well, line up and run downhill. And that's going to lean on that 4-2-5. They're going to lean on that front seven and do a great job in slowing the pace of the game down and also tuning up the clock. So I like Alabama to win the 2014 Sugar Bowl.